Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining our December 8th Troutman Town Council meeting. Glad to see you all. I've been traveling this past week. Glad to be back. It's been raining, I'm told, all week long, and I missed probably one day of that in my travels, but I too have been swimming around the East Coast these last few days, but glad to be home. So with that, I'll go ahead and get our meeting started, and I'll ask Mr. Hinkle if he would give us an invocation that will be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask you all to stand as we recite our pledge.
We can bow our heads, please. Lord, we ask for your blessings on this meeting this evening. Please guide this council to make the best decisions that are pleasing in your sight. We ask that you be with those in need and provide for them as thy will be done on that regard. We ask for your blessings on our military. We thank you for the upcoming season of the birth of your Son, Jesus Christ. We ask that those in need again be well thought of and remembered and taken care of, especially during this season of great joy and giving. We ask that you provide these blessings to us and any others that we have failed to ask for, that you see that we need. We ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Hinkle, and thank you all for participating in our pledge. At this time, I will move along our agenda, and first item is to ask if there are any amendments to the agenda. I'll first start with council. Any amendments to the agenda? Staff, any amendments?
Yes, sir. Item number 10, the applicant, it's annexation request Shims Farms, 149.17 acres. The applicant has requested that we defer for another month before that is heard. It's you all's pleasure if you wish to remove it with an amendment now, or wait till that item comes up to decide it individually. Also, as we had discussed at the pre-agenda, at the agenda meeting Monday, we would not know until this afternoon if the financial audit would be available. It is not available. We need to remove that off the agenda as well.
Would that also mean, Mr. Wyatt, that item 12 be removed as well?
Yes, sir, that does.
Or deferred?
Yes, sir.
Requested. Okay.
So it's items 7, 10, and 12.
Any other items?
Not from staff. Well, we would like to add a closed session legal issue discussion.
That's to consult an attorney?
The attorney would need to be present, but it's to bring counsel up to
Okay.
possible situation.
All right, so council, you've heard from staff. There's a request to defer item 10, 12, and remove item 7, and add a closed session that would be consult with an attorney, which is General Statute 143, 318, 11A3. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with those amendments, or do you want to make any additional changes?
I will make that motion, Mr. Mayor, to approve taking 7, 10, and 12 off the agenda.
And adding the closed
And
session?
adding the closed session for lawyer.
Okay. And that would include deferring item 10 and 12 to
Yes, sir.
January? Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Motion is made, received a couple of seconds. I'll give it to Ms. Harris. Any other question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. We will now follow along our agenda. The next item is consent items, and it is 3 sets of minutes, the approval of the 2023 meeting schedule, and annexation request, setting the date for January 12th for the Mountain State Investments, LLC. Council will approve the consent item with one motion unless there's an item that they would like to remove. Is there a motion to consider our consent agenda?
I'll make that motion. We approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, receive the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is recognition and presentations. We have item 6, recognition of Chris and Francis Carney for a Troutman ESC Park donation. Turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, would like to acknowledge the fact that as benefactors have a lot to choose how they wish to participate and where they would wish to participate. The Carney family, Francie, Chris, and they have their son Will with them this evening also. We would like to thank them and make you all and the public aware that our park, as council knows, has been a step-by-step process as we go to get things added or amenities. And discussions, Francie and Chris asked me, was there anything that their family could do as benefactors that would benefit the town of Troutman? And one of the projects that we decided was having the dugout areas of the ball fields needed to be roofs. At the time, we had quotes that were in the mid-20s as low as high as mid-30s. And I thought it was just a nonchalant conversation, quite frankly, is the way we were discussing the matter. But then a week or so later, I was contacted by the Carney family, and they stated that they would like to donate to the town of Troutman $25,000 to cover the cost of that improvement, which will greatly benefit the children of our community going forward. Not so much from the rain, because we're not playing ball in the rain, but definitely in the sun in the hot July and August days that people are out utilizing the fields. Those ball fields got opened up a little premature last year as to our original schedule due to COVID and the fact that school facilities that are normally utilized by the area youth groups with the fees that the county commissioners pay to the school system, they were not allowed to use those facilities. So we opened it up early, and that's one of the major concerns that have been brought back to Emily Watson, the Parks and Rec Director, is that there's nothing there to protect mostly children, but we do have adults utilizing the fields from time to time as well. Emily, was there anything you'd like to add to that?
Just appreciate the generous support. Anything that makes recreation better in a community, we know that improves quality of life, and there's no way we can say thank you other than showing recognition tonight, and we just appreciate that.
The Carney family has had a history of donating to various projects in the area, and we're tickled that they chose Troutman for this absolute need that we have going forward. And if Chris, Francie, Will, if you all would come up, please, so that council can acknowledge you and at the podium and shake hands, I'm sure.
And before you come up, I'd like to read a recognition here. I believe you can see it on the screen. The Town of Troutman Certificate of Recognition. In recognition and appreciation, Mayor Young, Town Council, and town citizens hereby recognize Chris and Francie Carney for investing your future, your resources and support to the town of Troutman ESC Park. This day, December 8th, 2022. Again, just like to say we appreciate all that you do in our community. I know you do more than just here in Troutman, but also the time you've spent in Raleigh as well. So again, appreciate Francie letting them, do some of those things that I know he's usually out and about doing. So again, we appreciate all you all support. So thank you.
The press would like to take you all's picture if you all would decide the best pose up there with council, please.
How about right over here and you can get all of it?
Can you get us all? Slide that way.
I should put it on.
Oh, you did? You got it?
I was just getting some just. Thank you. I'm about to get-
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Would you like to have word?
Just, this is Francie to y'all. My wife is the driving force and the boss, as everybody knows. And we're so fortunate that our children all went to South. As much as we live in Mooresville, Troutman was our home for all those years. And many a burger and milkshake at Cat's Patch, many a dinner. And y'all have done such a great job with this town. It's such a beautiful place. And we just want to find a way to thank you for what we got from y'all. We thank you so much for everything.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is old business. And the first item under old business is Town of Troutman future land use map and definitions. It's a continuation from last month. I will continue this public hearing. Turn it over to Ms. Hare for any further comment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you stated, this is a continuation from the public hearing on November the 10th. What was being requested that evening was that the council consider approving the updated land use map as well as the updated land use definitions. At that meeting, the council requested that staff post this information and make it available to the community so that they could comment on it. We did post this on our website around November the 25th. It was under the news section. I believe it was that week of the 25th. The article, however, was inadvertently turned off on the website, so it could not be viewed for a short period of time. I don't know if it was a week, 2 weeks, but it was posted there for quite some time. We also worked with the Iredell Free News on having an article written and published on November 21st that outlined the changes to the map as well as the definitions. The Iredell Free News has always also been very proactive in this process, and they've published 2 additional articles on this process as well. So I just wanted to mention that. We did not receive a lot of comments. I think maybe we received 1. And just to let you know, we opened this up last month. I presented the presentation to you. So you all have heard it, but I'm happy to do it again if you'd like to hear it. So that's the end of staff's comments this evening.
Great, thank you. Any questions for staff regarding the land use map? Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate, as we stated last month, Mr. Bryant and the group investing time, resources into updating our land use map. It is absolutely something that we should update periodically, and it gives us a really good guide for how we continue to grow our town. And again, we appreciate all that you all have done as well. At this time, I will, can't recall, did we do all of our public hearings? We will go ahead and close it at this time. Council, you've heard from staff and public last month. At this time, I will close it, and we will consider approval of the updated future land use map and the revised land use definitions that were presented. Is there a motion regarding the future land use map and definitions?
May I ask one question before that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Lynn, I just happened to notice, final draft 1025 is what I have, and on your display here, you have final draft 1020. I may be splitting hairs here, but I just wanted to ask you about that.
The 20th was when the draft was, I believe that's the last meeting we had with the advisory committee. And then the 25th was after, or the plan that we presented to the planning board on the 28th. So I think that's why the dates differ.
Okay, so-
But this was the final map that was created by the steering committee and approved by them. And then the map on the 25th is what the planning board approved.
Understood.
Okay. Is there a motion regarding the future land use map and definitions?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the proposed new land use map and definitions that's been worked on for the last 6-7 months. I think we've covered a lot of things there, and to address going, obviously a few years got to go again, but I think we did a good job with this. It's ready to be approved.
Great.
And I make that motion.
Is there a second to the motion?
I will second.
Okay. Any other question or comment? Okay. Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, and thanks again for all those who took the time to update that land use map. It really is a great guide for the town. Hopefully, maybe for the next 3 years, we'll might be back at the table again. So again, thank you for that. The next item on the agenda is the rezoning request, CZHI 2203, Norfolk Business Park, applicant Leon Bowens Jr., 38 acres. The PIN is 474-2123-520, 164 Nugget Lane, and that is the rezoning request from suburban residential to conditional zoning, heavy industrial. We had the public hearing last month. Council at least wanted to get some of the information in writing. I will turn it over to Ms. Hare for continued guidance here.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, as you stated, the public hearing on this item was held last month. I believe it was open and closed. The council did make the decision to defer the item so that we could get some of the conditions in writing. But just to kind of give everyone an overview in the audience, this property is located at 164 Nugget Lane. It's off of Murdoch Road. Currently, it's zoned RS. The applicant's requesting the property be rezoned to CZHI. It's about 38 acres in size, and they intend to use the property for a multi-tenant, multi-building industrial park or office park. This is the location of the property on your overhead, just to remind everybody of where the property is that we're considering rezoning this evening. The conditions list that's in your packet was one that we discussed at our last meeting and that the applicant did agree to. We've provided you all a copy of this in your packet. I have it on the overhead as well. Many of these conditions came from some of the slides that were in the applicant's presentation in terms of the uses that they were willing to state that they would not allow or permit in the park. We also had some issues with the properties that bordered the project that were zoned residential. The council expressed a desire for those any development or any use in any building that was built next to those properties, that they be LI uses only and not heavy industrial. So at the mayor's request, we did create a map that identified those properties. We also put the parcel ID numbers and the addresses and the conditions. The reason we did this is because things change over time. We wanted to make sure as we go forward in the future that it would be easily recognizable when looking at these maps what properties that were being we were basically identifying for LI uses. So that's in your packet as well. The project boundary buffer of 50 feet, the applicant agreed to putting a berm there. We've included that in the condition. And then we also talked about some conditions that the applicant showed on one of their slides that talks about upscale warehouse space, about how the interior finishes, some of the interior finishes that would help with noise issues. All of those things have been included as well. So we did want to point that out. In your packet, I do believe we have a copy of the zoning map that was created. I don't believe I included it in the presentation, but just to give you an idea, the properties that are located in this area here, in this parcel here, those are the ones that were identified, that anything adjacent to those will be LI only. So I wanted to point that out. That's the end of our presentation tonight on those conditions. Again, I have all of the information that was presented at the last meeting before the public hearing, that if you wanted me to go over anything, I can do that. And the applicant is here as well to address those conditions.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Hare?
Lynn, did you check into the berm situation that I mentioned to you several days ago?
In terms of the height of the
Location, height,
Height.
location, is it going to be down in the valley?
I
Is it
did
gonna
send
be
that
level?
information to the applicant, all of the questions that we discussed at that meeting, and hopefully he's prepared to address those this evening. So yes, sir, I did forward that information and asked him to clarify that this evening.
Any other questions for Ms. Hare? Okay. The applicant is here. I know Mr. Hinkle has a question regarding the berm. Of the requested changes, you all agree to those? Okay. You want to address the berm question?
Can we get, would it be possible to get that PowerPoint presentation up? We have a couple pictures that will help clarify a few things.
Okay.
I'm Sam Barnett. I'm the broker. To my right, I have Peter Casatelli, Butch Bowens, and Tony D'Alessandro. So to get some clarification with regards to the berm, have some photography that will help. This is a visualization of what it will look like. Took some drone photography to show you what the property looks like now, and give you an idea of where. So if I could, can I approach and do some pointing? Is that-
Yes.
Okay. So the residential properties are here. Sorry, this is light industrial. So we got residential, 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 and residential. So the berm, 5-foot berm with the 8-foot trees on top of it for a total of 13 feet is represented right here. So I can help orient you when I get you to our photography. Actually, let's see. So these are the residential properties starting here. This is the light industrial that's already been rezoned, that's not owned by us. And 1, 2, 3 residential. We'll move to the right a little bit here. This is the 3rd. So you can see here, here's the corner of our property, and there's actually a pretty significant buffer of trees now. And to show you what that looks like, this is looking from the property that we are looking to get rezoned, looking at the other properties. This is a photograph here. This is from 150 feet in the air. We're proposing to create a second buffer zone here, and this is basically perfectly flat. Unless we were required by some sort of UDO or anything else, we have the intention of leaving these trees as an additional buffer to try to help make things better here. So we don't anticipate any topography issues with regards to the buffer. As you can see, it's flat there. And just to give you a visual reference, this is from 150 feet, and this is what it looks like from approximately 60 feet. So you can see, I mean, you can't even, the house is there, you can't even see it. You can see this one here, but this is from this house over. It's pretty solid as it is, and so we feel with having our additional buffer, there would be virtually no visibility there. And then this is facing to the east, and this is what we have now. And there's not really anyone even close to that there. So I just kind of wanted to orient you as to what we were looking at with location. And then we would, again, put a second row there and leave that. We would love to have that buffer for everyone there that's already there.
So is that the one you have here, will be on the inside of that?
Correct. That what we visualized for you there would go inside this.
I'm trying to figure out which angle that's from. That's not the backyard of someone, is that's the other side?
This is facing the east, so this is,
Murdoch.
Murdoch is going this way towards
Okay, I got you.
77. There you can see it better. Now this is from the concrete plant. We're almost to the concrete plant, looking east from the west side. And this is, the entrance off Murdoch is here, and there's already this significant buffer here, which is between this property and the property that's already zoned light industrial.
No, that's not, that estate is not yours, right? Those trees,
It's right on the line.
well, those trees stay.
The berm and the evergreens will be in addition to that.
Well, there's not a
There's not anything over there.
No,
Okay.
this is not bordering
On the
residential.
Right, this is entrance coming into the.
Right, but this is just
Yeah,
kind of
so
giving
those
you an
trees will
idea
stay.
that it's gonna be blocked anyway,
Yeah.
in addition to what we've already got. If you have any more specific questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Any more questions for the applicant at this time?
Yeah, so if you're talking about 13 feet, those trees that we were talking about the last time, they're gonna grow more than 13 feet.
Significantly more. They get it, what, 40 to 60 feet? 40 to 60 feet by the time they're full grown. Growing approximately 3 feet.
I
3
would
feet a
say
year?
anywhere from like 18 to 24 inches annually, especially because they're building a berm, so the soil is really soft and it's really easy for them to acclimate to the soil, so you have a much better chance of it growing a lot faster than if you were to just put it in existing hard ground.
Can you go back a few pictures? Excuse me, George. I'm gonna give it an application.
But currently, there's already a pretty significant buffer there already.
Yeah, I was out there and it just looks like there's a slope. And even with those trees, it still doesn't look like it's going to, even with the berm, it still doesn't look like it's going to.
So I can show you from the street, if that would be helpful here. Is that, are you referring to the topography right here?
Yes, there.
So if I can,
You're on a hill. Significant hill.
I mean, this is what we're talking about here. It's pretty
You're
close to
taking-
flat right
From the other side, from their backyard, it looks like a slope going down. But you don't have one from there.
there. So I did, with regards to that, I did have some notes. Our unfortunate engineer is moving in the morning, and he wanted to communicate with regards to the leveling to make what you're talking about. He said the parcels adjacent to the residential properties will be graded where final grade will not exceed the berm height. The grade naturally falls away from these areas, and I have already done some mass grading design, which would not rise above the grade at the berms located along the perimeter. In fact, we're planning on cutting down a few feet in some of these parcels.
So the other question I have is because, and that was a question was asked earlier, since you're putting a second berm behind it, so what would your setback be now? They'll exceed would be exceeding the 50?
The setback is off the property line, not off the
Yeah,
buffer.
but even when you put a new berm and leave the trees, it'll kick back a little bit further, right? I mean, it won't be right 50, it'll be.
I mean, that would be the
It'll be
UD,
in that 50.
well, that'd be the
It'll
UDO,
in
right?
that 50, within that 50.
It will be,
sure.
okay.
Other questions for the applicant?
Can you, there's a little concern on your wet ponds, retention, or retention, detention, what, concerning smell, especially during warm weather.
Sure.
You have, water that's basically depends on evaporation, as opposed to some sort of metered, letting go of the water over time and so forth. Can you address that, exactly what's involved, and any concerns regarding smell, especially during warm weather?
Yes, I spoke to our engineer in great length about that. I'm going to read what he said, which hopefully will answer your question. If not, we can give you some clarification. The sketch plan does show the two ponds, one on each side. They are both wet ponds. We will utilize mosquito mitigation practices such as stocking the pond with bluegill fish, which eat mosquitoes, or installing a fountain to keep the water moving, or both. Ponds are required to be inspected annually for compliance to avoid clogging and overgrowth of algae, which can lead to odors if not maintained.
So there is an outlet for these ponds, and it's just not standing water, static water, and that's it. There is movement out as more water comes in from obviously rain and so forth.
Right.
And as you say, you've got the stocking of fish, and perhaps putting in some sort of a rotator to move the water and so forth. So addressing the concern of smell is not a concern.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
doesn't become stagnant.
Yeah, the engineer will, they'll analyze what'll be the most effective with regards to the fish or the fountain or whatever to make sure that this is addressed properly. But we did communicate that that was important to us to make sure there were no smell issues, and he assured us the way it's being designed that, they will be addressing that properly. And those were some of the options that they have to do that.
And also a concern of, speaking of water, rainwater, and especially during heavy rains, would the grade be such that any excess water would flow to these retention ponds as opposed to flowing to surrounding, especially residential property?
It is.
That's mitigated so that no more than what's flowing there now from Mother Nature, shall we say, as it is now, then in the future, after you have developed the property, that no more water, and maybe even less.
Yeah, there's the whole grading plan is designed around the water management to make sure the water is managed by the ponds and not adding additional runover to the adjacent properties.
One other question on there was, the erosion control plan will be filed with the county, right? It's not ready.
Correct.
I mean,
No.
but that goes to the county,
That goes to
strictly
the
there.
county.
Okay, because again, you're not gonna let erosion water run over
Right,
anybody else's
no.
property, and you can't do that.
No.
And I had one other question that came through, it was the height of the buildings. Do you have an idea what your buildings, because you have a lot of respect buildings, and you know about what height they're gonna be?
I've never built anything over 2 stories. I would say the highest probably 30, 35 feet.
So the UDO permits us to do 4 stories.
Yes.
And we are willing to do along that line that's light industrial and reduce that to 2.
But your building, the other place is not that tall, and
No, they're not.
and you're not,
The warehouse, I think the Walmart building, I'm trying to think, I think that's 36 feet is all. Downward that.
And so when I took that drone photograph, I did that intentionally, which would be approximately double the height of what the roof would be to give you kind of the visualization of the buffer there. This is from approximately 60 feet.
So 35, 36 feet max.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's in the conditions we talked about,
Yeah.
but you're saying you're willing to abide by that as well.
Well, I guess I would want to make sure that if we make any sort of minor tweaking, are we going to end up pushing this back another
No,
month?
No,
No.
no.
Okay, because we.
No, it's stated. It's
Okay.
on the record.
Okay,
Good, that's fine,
sure.
yes.
Any other questions?
I think that's covered the ones I had.
Yeah.
Do you think, again, we missed? Oh,
Excuse me?
did we miss any? I think it's covered all the ones we discussed when we met with them.
Well, there was one other concerning noise from, the race car, but I've talked to some folks there and, how about addressing that? There is concern expressed and, I've talked to some outside folks, but again, I'd like to hear from you, you can have as thick a wall and as insulate a wall as possible. If you've got doors and windows open, obviously the noise has a way to escape. And race car shops are going to be doing dyno on the engines and so forth. So again, there's a concern from close neighbors that this would disturb, one individual has a mother that's up in years, that this would be, a concern for her health and so forth. So Ed, how would you address that if there is a plan possibly for a race car shop to locate in this park?
Yeah, we could put a time frame on it if there was. Right now, we don't have anybody interested.
We don't currently have a prospective
We don't currently have
motorsports
a-
client. We're not saying that it's not possible that we would have one, but we don't currently have a reservation from a motorsports company. We think it's possible.
To put a time on, like, no certain
Yeah,
noises,
say-
will, past a certain.
Well,
time.
the town has a noise ordinance.
Well, yeah, and we're getting ready to address that again. You're exactly correct, but would this be something that your park HMO, however you want to address that, to give it the title of,
Absolutely.
that would address and make sure that it would not become a problem possibly?
Yeah.
We could
Obviously, Here today, you allow
Sure.
louder noises than at night,
Yeah,
so,
but not at night.
and I'd hate to, I'd hate some of your old lady to be
Oh,
disturbed by
yeah,
that.
midnight.
Sure.
But
No, we-
I realize too, business is business,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
somewhere we can reach a medium and
Certainly.
understanding here.
Yeah, I think, the owners association we've talked about, we want to be very strict because every single person up here is going to own a building and be operating in it and working there and having to listen to what's going on there as well. And so we did want to make sure that the owners association is responsible for helping to, obviously, law enforcement is going to enforce noise ordinances, but we are going to have the owners association specifically and making sure those rules are being enforced to try to make sure that they don't become a problem in the first place, so that it doesn't get to law enforcement.
And you had that in one of the conditions here of the owner association doing noise, air pollution, water pollution.
Yeah, we have that addressed in,
So you have it addressed as a
Correct.
condition in here, of
Right.
course.
I just wanted to bring it to your attention,
Sure.
discuss it.
Other questions for the applicant? Mr. Barnett, you mentioned that the ponds would be inspected periodically.
Yes.
Who does that? Is that the county?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Not for this job, but we deal with it all the time. The county's super strict. They actually ask, like, the HOA asked our landscape company, have a representative out there. They'll tell us, like, how high the grass has to be, if there's any standing water. Like, we were just out last week at Costco, and some of where the spillovers had shifted around, and there was some standing water, and they gave us a week to get back there. This is all by the county's rule. And they're very, very strict with that.
No. If there are no other questions, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Council, you heard from the public last month, as well as from staff, and some additional from the applicant, as well as the agreed upon conditions that we discussed and put in place tonight. At this time, we will move to consideration of approval of ordinance 3022 titled an ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from suburban residential RS to conditional zoning heavy industrial CZHI, known as CZHI 2203 Norfolk Business Park. Is there a motion regarding this ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, and I apologize for interrupting,
Yes,
but there's a large void here that's very significant, and if I may, and I understand it's out of the realm of normal, if you would please give me 1 minute, and that's all I'll say for it. But there's a void that does need to be addressed.
I apologize, but we had the public hearing last month. That would have had to been heard in that public hearing.
This was something that was just found out.
I apologize, that would have had to come before tonight, before we started this process.
Understood.
Thank you. As I move forward, council, is there a motion regarding this ordinance?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the rezoning request CZ H1 2203.
A motion is on the floor to approve the ordinance 3022. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I would suggest, excuse me? The motion also say with the condition.
Correct.
With the conditions.
Thank you.
And
Is there a
those that
second?
were added tonight as well.
Correct.
Now, I will second the motion, sir.
Motion is made to approve the ordinance as described here with the conditions which were approved by the applicant and identified in writing and agreed upon here tonight. I will ask for any question or additional comment. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
Nay.
Okay, ayes have it, the motion passes. Thank you. The next item is the consideration of a statement of consistency. I would ask council to read that statement in its entirety.
I will, Mr. Mayor. The action describing consistency. Rezoning to conditional zoning heavy industrial is inconsistent with the 2018 Troutman Strategic Plan Future Land Use Map designation for the property as rural residential agriculture. However, the request is consistent with the recent industrial development in the immediate vicinity of the subject property and is reasonable and in the public interest as it proposes to allow industrial development in the area of Troutman where is it appropriate.
A motion on the floor regarding a statement of consistency has been read. Is there a second to that statement?
I will second.
Motion is made, receives a second. Any question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposition?
Nay.
Ayes have it, the motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is new business. And the first item under new business is an annexation request, AX 2212. The applicant is Michael Berner, Calvary Fellowship of Huntersville, 8.34 acres. The PIN is 473-274-6214, 122 Fraser Loop. I will now open this public hearing, and I will turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Michael, can I get you to forward it for me? My clicker's not working. Okay, thank you. I apologize. So, did I pass it? Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. We have before us this evening a request for annexation. The applicant's Michael Berner of Calvary Chapel. The property is 8.34 acres in size. It is adjacent to the town limits. The owner of the property is Calvary Fellowship of Huntersville. This property is currently zoned RS and it is in the town's ETJ. So there's no rezoning application as part of this request this evening. I just wanted to point out that religious uses and their accessory uses, including housing, are permitted in the RS district with a special use permit. So the applicant did go before the Board of Adjustments and receive approval of a special use permit for the property in April of this year. So I wanted to point that out. The property that is in question is located, highlighted in red. The church also owns property in the area just to the north of the site here. Wanted to point out that that is not part of the annexation request this evening. There was a question as to that, and that was clarified. I spoke with the pastor of the church. He said that at this time, they don't intend to move forward with the annexation, but they may choose to do so in the future. What's prompting the annexation of this property is they're currently renovating one of the buildings on the site. They're also looking to build an additional home for men on the property. And in order to access the town's water and sewer and utilities, it has to be brought into the town limits. So that's what the request is this evening. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address those.
Great. Any questions for staff?
Lynn, can you, on the northern end of the property line, what is that? Is that Fraser Loop, little Fraser Loop drive or road there? I mean, I'm trying to
Yeah.
picture
You're talking
where
about here?
that northern line is.
Are you talking about in this area here?
Yeah, right.
That
the
is
northern-
Fraser Loop, yes, sir.
Excuse me?
That is Fraser Loop, yes, sir.
All right. And it goes back to the railroad tracks,
I believe it does, yes.
or the former railroad tracks.
Correct. Mhm.
And can you give me approximately on the south end, beyond the building, about how far beyond the building is that? Is there any kind of reference there, or?
You're
You can
talking
mention
about on this side of the property,
Yeah,
or?
the south side.
I'd just be guessing. I don't know that I could give you a good answer on that.
And so do you see any reason why we should not annex that in with for water and sewer there? Because even though they're not getting to church, they're getting that start, getting that way, I guess.
I do not see any reason why we would not want it annexed into the town.
Other questions for staff? Okay. At this time, I will ask, is there anyone here from the public who would like to speak regarding this annexation request? All right, thank you. This time, I will close this public hearing, and we will move to consider approval of ordinance 3222, titled "An Ordinance to Extend the Corporate Limits of the Town of Troutman, North Carolina Contiguous." Is there a motion regarding the approval of this ordinance?
I'll make a motion, we approve this annexation request, AX-22-12.
3222.
2222.
Yep.
Ordinance.
Okay. The motion's on the floor. Is there a second?
I will second.
Motion is made, received a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. We will now move on to item 13 under new business, which is water system, looks like project number AIAD ARP 0123. Consideration for selecting an engineering firm, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So these are just requests for qualifications for engineering services. The first one, 13A, is the water AIA, and we have a letter of intent from the state for a $175,000 grant. No match is required. So we posted that a few weeks ago. And since it's just for engineering qualification services, we're not required to have any type of, bid minimum there. So we only received one bid, and that is from West Consultants. They've done a lot of work for us in the past. So it's staff's consideration for the council to approve their bid.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Moody regarding the water system project? Okay. Is there a motion to approve this bid for West Consultants for this project?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, nay. Ayes have it. Thank you. Next item is a clay pipe sewer system. Again, selection of an engineering firm. Mr. Moody?
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's, this one is dealing with assessing where our condition of the clay pipes in the town and seeing if any are defective and need improvements or repairs. So we have a letter of intent from the state for a $225,000 grant. No match is required with that one either. Same thing, we asked for RFQs, posted it online and in the newspaper, and we only received one bid from West Consultants.
Any questions for Mr. Moody? Okay. Council, is there a motion to accept the bid for West Consultants for the clay pipe sewer system project?
I will make that motion, Mr. Mayor, to accept West Consultants for our clay pipe sewer system project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Next item is the 2022 wastewater capacity improvement project. Again, selection of an engineering firm. Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this one, upon completion of the clay pipe assessment and seeing where we are with that, this would be to prevent sanitary sewer overflows by repair, rehabilitation, or replacement of clay pipe and brick manholes in the Troutman sewer collection system. So this one is part grant and part revolving loan. The grant amount would be $1.655 million, and the revolving loan would be $687,500, repayable at a 1.68% interest rate. And same way with this one, we posted it online and in the newspaper, and we had one bid for engineering services from West Consultants.
Any questions for Mr. Moody?
What's the term of the loan? 1.68.
10 years.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Moody? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the bid given to West Consultants for our 2022 wastewater capacity improvements project?
Also moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Moody. The next item on the agenda is the consideration for appointments for the 2023 year. First is a council delegate and alternate delegate to the Central Atlanta Council of Governments, the council alternate to Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization, and the council delegate and alternate to the Lake Norman Transportation Commission. This was discussed on Monday night, and you can tell me if I'm incorrect, but I believe Mr. Oxer is he the delegate? And the alternate was?
Myself.
So now, that's what I was thinking. The alternate to CRTPO, Mr. Harris. The delegate is Mr. Hinkle, and the alternate, Ms. Harris, for LNTC. Were there any changes to those?
No.
No changes? Everybody wants to say, okay. Well, with one motion, I will ask for approval of the delegate and alternates for COG, CRTPO, and LNTC. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion is
Approve
on,
those appointments.
Motion's on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Surprised you all didn't appoint Mr. Oxford to something else. It's not here.
Now that you mentioned it, why don't we go back and revote?
I think the vote is complete. Next item is public comments. The public is invited to address the council with comments or concerns. Public is limited to 3 minutes per individual. Speakers are required to sign in and provide their name. They are required to adhere to Troutman Town Policy 51 concerning comments from the public at town meetings. At this time, I will ask any any public if they would like to address the council with any comments or concerns.
Of course, I have some. My name is Jessica Williams. I want to thank Miss Felina Harris. She has been a voice of the people for this town, and she shows it. She has gone out of her way to visit our property, to see and hear our reality in regards to this industrial park. To those of you who voted for this industrial project, just know what you did here tonight and what you do at every council vote impacts real people and real families. This isn't Monopoly, where you can just clear the board and restart the game. It devastates families who have invested their lives into their homes. This property will literally be 25 times larger than my 1.5 acre property. And it will be sitting in my backyard. That is a massive environmental change and spot zoning at its finest. I have figured out that the people who live on Murdoch Road and many other places in Troutman are just in the way. We are in the way of the town's agenda, and Troutman will stop at nothing to get what they want. Even if that means silencing the people who live here. Developers are catered to, while citizens are cut off after 5 minutes of voicing their concerns. You all have went as far as to moving this public comment session to the end of the meeting in hopes that the room would be cleared out before others can hear what other people have to say. When people reach out to certain officials of the town, we are told it's too late to discuss anything further. At the last council meeting, when I brought up concerns of hazardous waste, one of you actually laughed and stated that you could consider spent cooking oil as hazardous waste. This isn't a laughing matter, and it's not a joke. Not one of you, nor any of other town official, has reached out to us in regards to the hexavalent chromium that has contaminated our well water. No questions, no concerns, no regard for innocent lives exposed to toxic waste. My fiance and I have invested our life savings into our home. We will never be able to financially recover from this. We have pleaded with the council to convey to developers as a condition to purchase our properties so we do not have to be subjected to the ill effects of heavy industrial. So we can move out of the way. But those requests have fallen on deaf ears by some. Our quality of life will be diminished, and our homes will be severely devalued.
Time has expired.
We are now forced to endure what you have allowed, but it's not over yet. The people of Troutman see what's going on. We see who's making these radical decisions. We aren't blind to the smoke and the mirrors of the developers and anything else. It is time for you to wake up and realize that there are ramifications to your actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Anyone else want to address the council? Okay, we will move on to the comments from elected officials and staff. I will start with council members. I will start to my left. Mr. Harris?
Well, I don't have a lot to add. I just remind everyone with the holiday season coming up. Our town looks really good. It's bright out there when I drove through it into town tonight. Come from my house up Greenway by it. It's real bright. It looks good out there. So everyone just enjoy the holidays with your family and friends, and then be ready to go again in January.
Great. Ms. Harris?
I saw a comment on Facebook where somebody said they were loving our town, how beautiful it looks. So that made me smile, of course. The decorations are absolutely gorgeous. Thank you to all the staff who helped put them up and make our town look so good. I won't say which town they compared it to, okay? I won't do that. But anyway, our town looks very good. And I wanted to say in this meeting, thank you to all who helped to put the Christmas parade on. Again, I was a little afraid of the horse at first, but I did make it through that that ride on the carriage, and it was beautiful. We got lots of comments, Emily, about that carriage, but I don't want to do it again next year. I want the float back. But lots of great comments about that carriage, so thank you for putting that together. I just wanted to acknowledge that 2 nights ago I learned that Miss Bernice Feepster passed away. Many of you may know her. She lived in a big house like right before you get to Inglewood. Beautiful woman who just about raised a lot of people in Troutman. So we would like to send our condolences to her family. That's all.
Mr. Now?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank all the people that braved the rain on Saturday and came out and supported the parade. Also supporting our Christmas tree lighting and our 5K Jingle Bell Run. Thank you for the residents that came out and supported it. And I also would like to wish our residents a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and a Happy Hanukkah. Enjoy the season, please.
Okay. Mr. Hinkle?
Well, kudos to what has been said, and sorry to hear of Miss Pinkster's passing. Prayers are with her family. But I'd like to mention very briefly for consideration and discussion at our January meeting, bringing up the noise ordinance that had been handed to us for consideration by planning and zoning back, I think it's around July, August thereabouts, that we had kind of put aside, and I understand that, I'm trying to remember, we were going to form a committee, we never did, and it kind of got pushed aside, out of sight, out of mind, and since then, we've had some noise situations in town. One to a neighbor that called me the other night, quite upset. And I'm sure in other parts of the town, not just on one side. But I would like for the town, if you have lost or misplaced what was given to us back in August, I'm sure Lynn would be glad to send you a new email so you can download and read it over, look at it, and be ready, hopefully, I beseech you to discuss it in our January meeting so that we can put in an effective, a little bit stricter noise ordinance than we have now. One that if we issue tickets, violations for people who don't take a hint the first time it's mentioned to them about turning their noise down, that'll stand up in a court of law, and it's not just a revolving door for our police officers to write a ticket and it be dismissed in court. And that also in the meantime, proper sound measuring equipment be purchased by whomever, police department, whomever, so that we can hopefully when we pass this, again, I'm asking, that we'll have the equipment necessary to go out, and it won't be a kind of a objective type thing to where, well, what's loud to you is music to me type thing, to where we can set standards as we have in this proposed ordinance, and we can measure it with the meter, and if it's over that, then we've got clear evidence of a violation. So that's what I want to bring up and ask that you do think about it. If you can't find your copies, get with Lynn. Lynn, did you send those to anybody else except me?
I did not.
Okay. Get with Lynn if you need them, and she can, just a few pages to download on your home printer and look over. And I'm asking the town manager to put that on our January schedule, agenda for discussion, please.
Anything else? Okay. So a couple of things. I wasn't able to make the parade, and hopefully Miss Harris doesn't have nightmares, but I've always enjoyed the carriage ride, and the fact that Emily and the team put it together and made sure it was always safe. And I appreciate everyone who was able to come out and participate. Sounded like it was a awesome event, and I did see a lot of great pictures and photos, and I did have some relatives who were out there yelling the whole time, so they gave me a live view while I was away. Again, I appreciate the comments around how good the town looks. It does look great for the holidays, and I appreciate all the work that the staff are doing for that. I want to address a couple of things. One, Ms. Williams mentioned the public comment. Part of the reason we moved the public comment period to the end of the agenda was so that there would be some time given to respond to certain public comments that were made. And so I appreciate her and others who continue to give their feedback to council on their issues and concerns. They don't go on deaf ears. It may not always go the way that every individual wants, but council makes very difficult, tough decisions in their deliberation around issues that really impact us all. Staff is always there as a real support, and I appreciate what they do and have done throughout 2022. It's been a long year. There's been a lot happening this past year, and again, there's been a lot of growth, but there's been some challenges with that, and I appreciate what you all do every day to make sure our town looks good. But not only that, we got good, clean water, Adam and the Public Works team, and we've got great safety from our law enforcement. I appreciate that. We've got great planners, and I know our finances are getting better every day. And we've got an HR team that is making sure that we're doing the right things. And so I know we talk about our park and rec, and again, we appreciate everything that you do every day, Emily, you and the team. So thank you so much. Michael is our solid video guy back there, and this year we've always had the opportunity to expand our reach, if you will, outside these four walls. And so again, thank you so much. Kim, every day I know it's a chore trying to rehash everything that we say and ask in all the meetings, and so again, we appreciate that so much. And Lynn, please let Andrew know we appreciate all the work you all have done over this past year. I know it's been challenging, so thank you so much. So with that, I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We won't be back in this room until after the first of the year. Please be safe. I know we have lost some great people in our community, Ms. Feenster and others. I believe we lost our first chief for this town. Again, please remember those families. Keep them in your thoughts and prayers during this time and this season. May God bless you all, and again, I appreciate the support that you all have and the love for this town. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Wyatt for staff comments.
I will defer to my far right first with Emily Watson with Parks and Rec.
Thank you. I just want to echo that I appreciate everyone's support and help and staff jumping in and rallying around the events this past week. It was a crazy week, but everyone came together, and that was the best part of it. So thank you to the community and council for coming out and supporting our events and kicking off the holiday season together. So appreciate that. And the participants of the parade as well. It was a cold, wet, rainy Saturday, but it cleared right in time for us to enjoy our parade together. So I thank you all for participating and coming out with a smile. So thank you.
All right, the report that everybody's been waiting for, Public Works. So, winter brings on a little different workload for Public Works, but still heavy, still busy. More infrastructure compliance works being done behind the scenes, transition from out in the open, mowing and landscaping, things like that. Also, I'm going to hit again on our good water system. I'm glad to report that our 2020 through 2022 state water systems inspection and data audit was performed by area DEQ inspector. All system facilities were in compliance with the requirements of the state of North Carolina's rules governing public water systems. And I'll just give one of his comments to me that I thought was pretty good. He's never concerned when Troutman's inspection comes up in his system, since we always have our things together. So I know the Duck sent that email out, and I appreciate that, giving us a pat on the back, and y'all are aware of it. Just wanted to touch on that again, how good the support under me and above me is, that we can run a system like this. So.
Although most of what I deal with is personnel issues, so not a lot I usually could put out in public. One thing we did find out today is we did actually, one of the things I also do is some of our grant work, and I got we just received a $5,000 grant for a safety program. It's going to help offset some of our access control system that we had within the town. Beyond that, I'm continuing on with our human resource, a lot of audits of our records and programs, and going to keep moving forward with that.
All right, mine will be short and sweet. We really tried to get the audit presentation tonight. We tried hard, but the auditor and I thought it would be best if, instead of putting out a draft that is not final numbers and presenting numbers that could change, neither one of us was a big fan of that. So that will be in January. They're still working diligently to get that complete soon. So I look forward to being able to share that with you all once we have that in our hands. But besides that, Tanya and Kimberly's doing a great job up front. If you haven't had a chance to meet them yet, come in, say hello. Both really nice ladies, and every time we think we have stuff under control and we have a time that we can breathe, something else comes up, but that's okay. So, it's always busy, and that's fine, but just trying to get better each day. So that's all I've got.
Well, most of you know that we've been busy in the planning department because a lot of what we do, you all are very involved with. So a lot of my coworkers express thanks, and I want to do the same. I do appreciate a council who is involved and is very supportive of our department, so thank you for that. We processed around 12 rezoning cases so far this year. I think we would have had a couple more without those deferrals, but that's a lot. Some towns bigger than ours don't see that many, so we've had a lot of development. We're pushing close to 800 zoning permits that we issued, which is more than double what we did last year, so that's something that's keeping us busy. We also completed our land use plan and update to those definitions, so I appreciate the council's support on that, especially Mr. Harris and Mr. Oxshire, who served on that committee, so I really appreciated the support there. So we're just gearing up for next year. We're going to tackle rewriting the UDO in-house, so that will be a fun and challenging project, but looking forward to that. So that's all, but thank you.
During the month of November, the department responded to 465 calls for service, completed 55 incident investigation reports, and 33 crash investigations were conducted. Officers arrested 22 subjects, made 3 DWI arrests, 13 narcotics violations, and they conducted 441 neighborhood patrols, which involves more than just riding through. The officers are, when they see people out, stopping and talking to people. We also, during the early voting and the election day, in November, did extra security patrols at the polls, just to ensure that there was no problems. That's been happening nationwide. Everything went, without any incidents. We've conducted some community meetings during November, did a traffic survey on April Showers Lane to determine if there was a speeding problem. And we also went to the Council on Aging's nutrition site at Troutman Baptist Church, where I spoke with elderly people that to warn them about the risk of fraud and scams that they seem to be targeted for. And that's a program, it's Monday through Friday. There's at 11, 12 o'clock, they provide a free meal to anybody over, I think it's 60 or 62. So anybody you know that's a senior citizen and could, struggling or something, that's somewhere they can go to Troutman Baptist Church and get a meal. That was something I've never known about it until I went and presented, and that's a really good program. And I'd like to thank the council and all of the staff for the support they give the police department.
As you can tell by the staff reports from their own departments, while some hit the high spots, we are as busier than any time before. I appreciate each one of them and the employees we have here for the quality work that we continue to do and provide to the taxpayers of our town. Having said that, that segues into the first comment I would like to bring up is we have several amenities here that we love sharing and showing off, but we have three that I'm aware of, pretty sincere persons who live in the county that demanded that we as town provide better or change our amenities to accommodate their wants and desires of what they think would be an improvement. As we have said before, the taxpayers of the town pay for a lot of the things that are here, such as our park, such as the Greenway. And while we certainly want to share it and show it off to everyone, a lot of folks that live in the county area of Troutman zip code are confused as to who actually pays for those amenities. And we've had several, one in particular that was comparing our facility to surrounding areas of what they do or don't do, and why were we not doing better to make things easier for them. And the simple fact of the matter is that their representatives are county commissioners, and on improving the amenity that was being discussed there, the county has opportunities. We always try to partner with them, whether it be parks or whether it be greenways. And this particular issue was discussed was lighting on the Greenway. The Greenway is lit by the town expense. Mayor Pro Tem, as you recall, going back to some 8 years ago when the discussion first come up on lighting the Greenway, and that took a 4-year process. We asked all of our partners to participate in lighting their various sections of the Greenway, whether it be Lake Norman Calvary Church or whether it be Children's Hope Alliance, Iredell County, and of course the town. The only one that opted not to do that was Iredell County at the time. So when people see things, they automatically assume that we have, as a town, have not done something or should do something more. But that's just one example I would like to use, that going back with the staff and personnel involved at the time, that due diligence was performed to try to get the Greenway lit entirely, but one section still remains unlit, and that does not belong to the town to do. The next thing I would like to say is Mayor Pro Tem Hinkle and Councilman Now and I went to an event in Charlotte last night, and even one of their council members was commenting what good remarks and things that they were hearing from people about the town of Troutman. The mayor has also made us aware of some conversations he had with neighboring townships. We appreciate what the spotlight that Troutman has come under positively in those areas, but it also segues into the growth. One of the things that I talked with one of the staff this evening about, growth brings good and bad. If you don't have growth, to a lot of people it's very bad. If you have growth, it can be good and bad. Some of the people automatically assume, just like every road or street is the burden of the taxpayers of the town of Troutman, and that's simply not the case, as we have reiterated a bunch of times. DOT's involved with most of the roadways there, but we, as staff, do not make those decisions to allow or give permission for a property owner to sell their property and then for it to be developed. Contrary to some folks' opinions on public, on social media sites, there's a legal process that we have to follow at you all's direction. We have dotted i's and crossed t's, and a lot of these projects get hammered down at least a half dozen times before it comes before you all for the final hearing and the final vote. So when statements are made that you or we as staff are doing anything, it is within the confines of the law when it comes to those, whether it be residential or commercial growth. There are several communities in the eastern part of the state that would love to have the issues that we're having with growth. But again, I'm not dismissing the fact that these concerned citizens have is valid with our growth and the pains that that causes. But I will say, when you purchase property and you move to an area, there is due diligence to that property buyer, whether it be a residence or land, to know. And it does not fall back on a government to protect you if you failed to do your own due diligence. The other thing I would like to report is we did get our CO this month for the planning house refurbishment. We have been waiting over 6 months for permits from the county so that we can begin the rehab project and disassemble of remediation of some asbestos that's in the building on Wagner Street. We have already begun working on the Parks and Rec Center office and complex, but we're still waiting on a permit from the county to delve into that project real well too. We have had numerous compliments of the Greenway and the work that contractors and staff has performed there as far as cleaning off the trees and the limbs that were skewing safety in some cases, but in aesthetics in others. And all of that has been very positive as well. We are renting our facilities to town, just like the town chambers here is utilized more and more. Kim just had a request this afternoon that there's no space or spaces available other than our community churches here for people to have gatherings of 20 or 30 people, and that continues to happen with the chambers. And if anybody's in need of the facility, they certainly can send an email or call us and coordinate through Kim. That's under her purview. That's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Any questions for staff? Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
At this time, we will move to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A3. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Also move.
Is there a second?
We'll second.
Motion made. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion passes. Who do you need in the room?
The police chief, a clerk, and our town attorney.
Okay, great. Thank you all for being here, and again, have a safe holiday.